The interesting thing though is a Luna can kind of diverge from that. Like later on, honestly through the mid game when you find your item timings, you like to group up with this Luna besting, playing 5-on-5 where you can just have the overwhelming amount of damage and then take tower after tower. So we'll see how the dynamic can shape up for Apes early with their pick off into group up.
Yeah, I'm not writing off Apes altogether. I mean, like you mentioned, the Lunar Blessing, very effective, especially if you're using the Phantasm. If CK eventually opts to go into an Aghanim Scepter for himself, hell, even just the Chaos Bolt, right? They're going to, the Aghanim Shard for the Chaos Bolt upgrade to provide an illusion. Does a lot when you're buffing it up even further with the Lunar Blessing available. So we'll see what they're able to do. Again, this match means so much for the Apes in particular. Right? Like they've got relative safety, I would say, on LILGUN, whereas the Apes, they need to keep winning, because if they don't, they're going to be right back out, unfortunately. Despite, we were talking about this during the break, they have one of the best supporter packs in the entire DPC, not just Southeast Asia, so make sure you do check it out. Yes, indeed. Khishka and elэвэн just running up here.
The battle begins.
Is it bad of me that I'm wanting to say Apes, but I don't.
No. I think they've got the tools to do it. I just wasn't convinced by their teamwork in game number 1.
Yeah, that's kind of my...
Like, if I didn't see the teams, I would probably say the Daya lineup, right? But I did see the teams in game number 1, and I saw how a few of those plays happened, and it just didn't seem like the synergy was quite there. It's a new game. They've had a chance to refresh, so it might be different, but I'm still going to put my faith in LILGUN.
I'm going Apes. Screw it.
All right.
I think BKBs are huge for Apes. If they get BKBs, then I'm happy. Then that's where I feel like they shine. I'm very concerned they're going to get run over this game, like we saw in game 1. So if they can steady the ship and get those BKBs, then I feel like they're in prime position, or the position they at least want to be in.
Also, not to flame, but it is a Mamang Daya Storm Spirit, and he's been noted for his spirits maybe not being the same caliber as a lot of his other heroes, with the exception of Void Spirit, I guess. He's got a pretty good Void Spirit, but it is a little bit of a concern. I mean, this feels like in game number 1, they asked him to play the Underlord just because it was a specific counter to what they were looking to run, both the Coddle and the Broodmother, and he just didn't feel comfortable at all, so that also kind of weighed into my decision there.
Take a look at the bottom lane here with Dalul on the Chaos Knight and Lim on the Grimshroud. Up against Ace's Bane, along with Sanctity's Tiny. So some similar heroes. We get to see the comfort overall. Sanctity's look really solid. And I've continuing to be impressed, even though LILGUN, the score doesn't really back it. But just very impressed with their overall growth of this as a team, with how they've kind of moved away from these cheese strategies and even showed more of this flex potential from Sanctity and 423, kind of similar to what we saw Mickey and Koifa, and you can continue the list as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The only real team that I was kind of surprised that LILGUN dropped to game 2 was Army Geniuses there for their 3rd loss. Jikroy is getting dived a little bit up on this top side, but of course he's got an IO paired together with him, so he's going to be safe enough. Already, the net worth is swinging a little bit in favor of LILGUN. Only 2.5 minutes in, but you have to be a bit concerned that even with an IO pairing, this Luna's sitting last on all the core net worth.
Do you feel like the Grimstroke is going to have a time where he can freely make stacks for Jikroy by the triangle?
I think if you're not taking advantage of a strong kill lane in this bottom side, you're making a mistake here. Like I said, Chaos Knight did have to go into the Chaos Strike just to be able to maintain the lane, but surprisingly enough, he puts a second point into it, which I'm not as big a fan of. I mean, if he had that available then, like, this Bane dies if he has a point of Reality Rift.
Might still die, but Avalanche is going to hold back to Law, so beautifully placed stun there from Sanctity. So you feel like this is just a lane where they have to put all their attention on getting kills instead of trying top lane. Oh no! The moment of courage proc on that last right click gets the first blood given over to elэвэн.
I think they, now less so, I think they really needed to get the first blood just to A, take that away from LILGUN, which, you know, they've got a pretty strong kill lineup as well. It's a Skywrath Mage and a Legion Commander. They're able to dish out a lot of damage and trade very well. But now that it's gone, maybe you can look to lean a little bit more into the, I don't want to say survivability, but just trying to get a decent amount of net worth for yourself.
Both mid laners are very happy with the start of the game they've gotten. It does look like both have the small camp accessible as well. So Storm's going to shove it out. Keeper the Light's going to shove out the lane. And feels like it's more than likely going to be a farm trade. But we did see some early rotations, mainly from Khishka in game 1. Just that Rubik's stun was nice to be able to get some early kills under the belt of 4-2-3. Can you see something similar in this game, or is it a little bit more difficult on the Sky?
It's more difficult on the Sky, plus the fact that you're against a Storm Spirit, right? Like, he's got his ultimate very shortly, so he's going to be able to get away from a lot of the kills as long as he's got the mana for it. It's Underlord, he's kind of like a sitting duck a lot of the time. 2-3 just soaking that experience.
Jikroy's going to die top. Arcane Bolt. Stick charge is enough to keep Jikroy away from the critical threshold, but they are still hunting. Maybe they're looking for UK like... instead. The concussive shot slows him down. He's got tether back up. They are completely zoned out of the lane.
Yep, you are not farming. You have a little bit of regen. Doesn't quite have the headrest yet on UK, but there's a lot of creeps that's just fading away underneath this tower.
You need to bring a +1.
Worth.
They're gonna try and man fight. Storm's joining them, but Jikroy doesn't have the bonus health now to play with, so it looks to stand his ground in the tree line. They get the kill on элэвэн, but without the mana from Mamang Daya, it's going to turn to play with the clarity. khishka doesn't want to face away to pop the clarity. He's going to rely on the concussive shot instead. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Ace 12 should end up going down. Brain Sap's going to give him a little bit of extra health to utilize. Got a stun in a couple of seconds. Sanctity is going to toss the Chaos Knight further away. The second point in the Stroke of Fate. Enough damage for Lim to get the kill.
Done by Lim. He's even going to be able to take away the bounty rune that's about to spawn. So I feel like you're still okay with this, even though Apes ended up getting a few kills there, just because the Coddle getting the boots of travel is the important mark, right? And if a Storm Spirit isn't contesting the lane, he's losing a lot of those creeps under the tower because you're just shoving out the lane so quickly with your Illuminate. Tower's already at half HP and a Coddle lane, you know, like that's a big win. And he's basically got his box.
Then he's going to be nearby to be able to pair with Mamang Daya. This is a huge kill they're going to get on the Keeper of the Light before the boots of travel. There's no way 4-2-3 gets a kill before he dies, and looks like with khishka showing up, still won't have the damage in the tank for Lim, so beautifully played, utilizing that haste to perfection.
Yeah, that comes down to milliseconds there. If he's able to get the Illuminate off in the Spirit form while he's being in the Electric Vortex, it's going to heal for a lot more when he gets hit by it, and he definitely lives, but really good by Mamang Daya to make sure that he did catch him out, prevented that heal from having a huge impact.
It's interesting that 4-2-3 is going back into the Spirit Vessel, though, because I thought the item last game was very game dependent, but just seems like he feels there's a lot more value in this item than maybe that next item Dagon we see 9 go.
I think it just highlights what your focus is, right? Like a Dagon, it's a little bit, is it a slower timing? Maybe not, but like it just allows you to stay out on the map and be this constant threat and presence out there. You're up against an Io, so Spirit Vessel is going to be effective as well.
khishka not going to have the damage to go through Jikroy, but now with the Keeper of the Light TPing into the lane, it will cancel that, and Jules not going to be successful.
Yeah, I feel like anything that just enables you to transition from this lane dominator into this kill obtainer is what you want when you're playing this mid Coddle, right? He's got the urn coming out to him at the moment, but beyond that, he just needs to make sure that he's consistently going for kills. I don't want to see him sitting back and AFK farming. His job is to make space so that Sanctity is able to get a couple of these early items.
Jikroy. Oh no, that's not a spot you want to be. They still don't have the level 6 on UK. Oh, so much damage.
Didn't have the duel quite yet. It's just come off cooldown at the moment. Just a lot of threat being put onto this safe lane here. They realize that, I mean, dalul could just pop off again and have another amazing game, right? But he's not the real one that you're concerned about. You're concerned about this Luna being able to use the space created by this trio of Storm Spirit, Chaos Knight, and Grimstroke to actually do a lot in the late stage. And Luna's not able to do enough with that farm because she's died a few times and doesn't have farm to farm, then it's going to be a rough one.
No stacks at the Ancients or the Hard for Luna to be able to catch back, but you do have a IO to combine with yourself. Overcharge bonus attack speed is going to be vital for Jikroy to keep up, but his counterpart in the Tiny also hasn't had the greatest lane. No deaths, 57 last hits. He's fourth in net worth, so definitely not the worst, only about 200 gold ahead. B423, along with the duo support trying to invade the jungle, they run straight into Jikroy. A little bit of awkward use of the Nightmare, but that just allows the Illuminate to be charged up to the full length. And now they even might add UK to the death tally, but he's got to tear the target. Bottom lane though, Mamang Daya paired with dalul. Avalanche once again used defensive things to hold them back. Nicely played from Sanctity.
Get away from a lot of that aggression, and every single time this Luna dies, of course it's a bad thing, but I'm always just looking at what they're looking to get in exchange. I'm seeing an early Witchblade come out from the Storm Spirit. Not sure how strongly I feel about that, but I suppose the slow is going to be nice against the Coddle as long as you're able to get that singular right click onto him.
So I think every game I've seen Storm Spirit that I've casted go Witchblade, I think I saw 2 of them and I was casting with Parker, and I haven't been able to get your thought process on it. So what do you think about this new introduction to the Witchblade on Storm?
I think it's just more consistent damage than something like an Orchid, and they certainly moved Orchid away from being a spellcaster's item. You know, now it's attack speed and it's damage and a little bit of regen, but nowhere near enough as it used to be. Same sort of thing with the intelligence boost, so it feels like it's kind of the substitute for the Orchid, and you've got the Grimstroke and the Chaos Knight to play around with, where they kind of act as like that extra stun or silence coming through, that you don't actually need to be quite as concerned about having that silence for yourself.
Yeah, I think all the attributes that you get from Witchblade is something that Storm Spirit likes, but you're never going to itemize into armor. Like, you're an intel hero, your agi game is very bad. You love attack speed because a lot of your damage actually just comes through from Overload. Of course, you need to use remnants and abilities for that, but you want your right clicks to be pretty fast as well. Just continue those flurry of Overload procs, but those 2 things, a little bit of mana, intelligence, so yeah, I think it's an interesting item for the Storm.
Oh, look at it. Feels a little baity. You know, you've got multiple heroes standing here beside the tree line. Just if Mamang Daya moves to the right side of the lane, which he doesn't, and they're able to get the deny up as well, so a little bit of extra gold for Apes, which is great. Got the Spirit Vessel to contend with now, but I believe they've essentially got the Witchblade timing as well, about 100 or so gold away for Mamang Daya, so it's able to pick that one up and make some rotations happen. Be a pretty big deal. I mean, you've got the Soul Ring as well on the IO, so consistently able to keep Storm Spirit plenty of mana for himself.
Play? They're gonna break the Nightmare. Oh, great position from Lim. Gets rid of the Fiend's grip. And the tether before the duel, so they're able to reposition, but khishka, well, he's still nearby to land the Mystic Flare. That's all the damage they need to find the first duel victory of the game.
Pretty good, though, by Apes to be able to dodge out a lot of that. The fact that they only lose an IO for it is a win, right? It would have just made him further away from that Witchblade for himself. Now he's got it picked up. Looks like he wants the 3 kill onto 12. He'll go down. Fortunately for Luna, she's not the one to pick up that kill.
He's still falling further behind, and this is pre-Ag shot as well for Tiny, so he's still keeping a decent amount ahead of the Luna, but I guess this was, he hasn't even farmed the stack shit at the Ancient, so yeah, this is where Ancients farmed on Sanctity, and we haven't even seen Jikroy played by the Ancients himself as well, which is something that your Lunas thrive on, so I'm a bit surprised with the farming, at least the position from Jikroy so far.
Yeah, a little bit odd, but I guess they don't really feel safe to play around that area of the map just because that's where they saw LILGUN playing recently. They might feel like they've got a bit of a vision disadvantage, and as for right now, they just want to play in the safest place possible, right next to a lot of their own vision.
And they're going to look to smoke. They've got the blink on 11. You're back and available. Guy's a target. If he pops back into the lane, they'll jump instantly. But he's also in a position where he can break the smoke and get out. They're pinging out his location.
And they are going to get de-watered to hell in this area. They saw both observer wards drop down beneath that cliff there. So even though Mamang Daya is able to dodge out that smoke, he's been a lot better with his positioning this game. Just making sure to constantly be playing around trees so that you've got the security of that cliff ward.
Eleven's gonna jump. Khishka's not far behind to follow up. Lim needs to eat the Mystic Flare. They don't get the dual victory, but they still get the kill. 4-2-3 with the finishing blow. They're a little bit too late to get an extra one in the life of Lim. Ace is setting up on the high ground.
Bounty.
Doesn't have anyone nearby to play with.
No one close, actually, as well.
Dire's bottom tower.
But Mamang Daya's actually going to jump for it. Tiny to the northern side of the pit. Had a blink or shadow blade to really close the distance. Mamang Daya up to a killing spree. And you mentioned, like, he's really not that comfortable on a lot of spirit heroes, but I've been pretty impressed with his performance so far.
Yeah, this game has been very good. You know, when you don't think of Storm Spirit when you think Mamang Daya. You know, you think of a lot more of the unorthodox stuff.
11 and Khishka. Junction again. They're going to see dalul. 1400 health. Not without the armlet.
He's the last one you want to catch, though. Yeah. Very tanky already. Armlet picked up.
No raindrops, so
braces.
Smoke up. Apes. Running to the low ground, but Mamang Daya to start. 11 so patient in the tree line. Hasn't found his angle just yet. But a 1-for-1. Do they go back in? He's already used the blink, so 11's going to have to run into the middle. That will be too late.
Noted as well that Apes, everyone turns up to that Sanctity, he's still farming away on the top side. Does he have a completed Shadow Blade coming out to him? Yes, he does. So just wanted to push out that top wave as much as possible. It's still the siege creep wave, by the way, so someone might need to address that. In that time, they'll have that additional item for themselves.
I think this is actually something we see a decent amount for Sanctity, where he doesn't put as much emphasis on the Ag Shard.
Yeah, he's not a farmer, that's for sure. He is... It might be a tiny, he might be a mid player, but you got to stay with the same sort of mentality of I'm just going to go around making space, getting kills.
Some games he's their win conditioner, and some games you need him to be that farmer though, right? Of course it's
on
different.
The TA. That's about it. OD, I wouldn't really call it.
Yeah, the LILGUN 1000 net worth lead, 14 kills. Pretty even at this stage of the game. I was saying that I think Apes had to be around this position. You're not out of it. I wasn't really expecting them to have the early lead with the lineup they had, but they could just steady the boat. Bottom lane, they might be in trouble. Khishka and 4-2-3 in conjunction. Gonna try and bring down the Lunar. It does have a couple heroes behind, but with 11 TPing in, finds the dual victory. Mamang Daya is gonna come down from the south. It's a beautiful double vortex. They get a double kill, and now Mamang Daya's got plenty of mana to be able to utilize a long zip onto Ace 12. And Mamang Daya showing that he can pull out the Storm Spirit and still have a pretty crazy game on it.
Yeah, he's doing really well. I'm not sure why LILGUN didn't glyph. You know, that was a tier 1 tower with a Bane defending it a lot of the time. They had a lot of those rotations come through, and they could have forced them to perhaps stay around that area, but instead they have to go into the unknown, I suppose, where Apes were much better set up and saw what impact the TP rotation from Mamang Daya had. Zip on in, make maximum use out of that Soulbind for the double vortex, and yeah, really clean up.
You think, again, you mentioned it last fight, but another big thing is that Sanctity didn't show up, so he's continuing to get farm, and it was the Luna that just died, so see the net worth disparison between the position ones is starting to get to a stage where you might be a bit worried for Jikroy.
Yeah, but now you've got a Shadow Blade on this Tiny. He's under an Observer Ward though, or a Sentry rather. Oh. You know, he's there, that Esky range creep, feeling everything.
Could have been a big opportunity to kill Sanctity. 2500 health, of course, it's scary, but he's been flawless so far. If you can kind of just stem the momentum a little bit, especially before BKB, because that could get to a stage where Tiny is very, very hard to kill.
Now, I know we like to roast my lack of my deficient color vision.
Okay.
But just have a look at Sanctity while he's still got DD. I would say that it's very hard to see that Tiny has DD. Would you agree? Exactly. It's just around his feet, basically.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Pay to win. Tiny's not already broken enough. He needs a little bit of extra advantage from Daddy Gaben.
Thinking how they want to spend their next couple of minutes or so. I believe, is that the Axe Shard? No, it's actually a Silver Edge. Same build as last game, coming out to the Tiny. So he wants to try and get as active as possible. A lot of that burst. I mean, you're playing with a Coddle, a Skywrath, a Legion Commander with Duel, and now a Tiny with Silver Edge. If you're not able to pick off a target, even the CK at this stage, what's going on? So I think we could look to see them all group up together and try and make some kills. So have to be careful there, Mamang Daya, but for the full zip, just to try and clear out that top wave so that their movements aren't quite as...
Does Dalul die to this? I think he's gonna reveal the Silver's Edge. Oh, and they instantly rip apart the Phantasm. Sanctity still had some trees to be able to play with, so a very nice solo kill. Now instantly the rest of LILGUN. Look at a smoke collapsing towards a triangle. And jumping, but unable to get in range. He went for the overwhelming odds radius instead of the other 10 Talon. Able to find the jewel if he went for a different route.
A little bit surprising, honestly. I mean, I suppose that my thinking is that they are relying on a decent amount of physical damage going through from the apes, with the Luna paired together with someone with a Chaos Knight. So overwhelming odds has a good amount of value for this LC, especially if he goes into an Aghanim Shard after he picks up the Blink Dagger.
They are
just that additional
all under a ward.
Great.
Oh, Sanctity. They get the vision of both. They see the Storm Spirit in the tree line, and Sanctity jumps the Grimstroke. A simultaneous initiation now with the Phoenix Cube. Ace 12 in the middle to fight, but there's no cancel as Dalul looks to enter with a numbers disadvantage, and LILGUN just run over heroes one by one. They may as well finish the fight inside the base, but to relocate back to the jungle means Lim and UK will just make it out.
That instant buyback, but the Storm was already dead. It meant that Lim, unfortunately, didn't offer all too much, and buying back as well. At least he's got the Aghanim Shard, so can provide a little bit of save to the rest of the team, but it's going to be a long time until he gets his next item, even with a Philosopher's Stone.
That was such a perfect fight.
Where do they play now, though? That's my big question. The vision isn't amazing, I suppose, for either team, but it just feels like even though they're the team up against an IO, the IO team is scared to go out on the map at all because they've just got so much burst, so much quick ways to be able to engage. It's like elэвэн does share the same mindset as me. He's since queued up the Aghanim Shard. Be able to use with the overwhelming odds against the CK, against the Luna. It's going to be very effective.
With the Wood on the High, are going to play with the Radiant. Starting to move towards the areas so they can realize this to perfection. Will's actually going to jump elэвэн, but the rest of the team on the other side to follow up with the Chaos Knight's initiation.
They're about to hit the... Going for a smoke here. I was about to say they're about to hit some small timings, perhaps coming through from the apes, and I like this from Dalul. He needs to get that Aghanim Shard. It just provides so much additional damage.
Zip onto the Bane, but elэвэн doesn't follow up, so an easy kill through their smoke, but it's only support, so nothing crazy.
I think they do just need to, even though it's going to cost them a little bit in terms of, you know, being as efficient as possible and they'll be sharing a lot of experience, they need to play around together for this next little bit on apes. I more into them a little bit last game with how they weren't able to make it maximum advantage of their timings, but you've got a Aghanim Shard now on the CK, which is great, and you're so close to getting the Lincoln Sphere on the Storm Spirit. I feel like once you've got those, you got to just go. There's no waiting beyond that, and I like the fact that they're not just... When they went for that 5-man smoke without either, I was very worried, but you're not going to win the next team fight without those items.
For Radiant, it's go time for them. They got triple BKBs on their cores. The recent completed ones was Tiny and Legion, so they're ready to take a fight.
Level 20 on Tiny as well.
Jikroy, he's gonna run straight into them. UK's already used the tether, so the relocate will do nothing. Mamang Daya a little bit too late to the party. Now with the BKBs, all this magic damage is completely nullified. As LILGUN will be an extra kill to add to the tally. And LILGUN, they can now transition this into the tier 2 mid.
Yeah, I think the way that they need to play this game is just pretending like if you're walking near a cliff ward, you're dead, because that's where a lot of these kills have been happening. You know, this cliff ward has somehow survived for about 4 minutes up here on the high ground, and it's being pinged out, but they're going to be a little bit too late. Ace even putting down a bit more of an unorthodox one inside the lane.
What Daya doing? Sneaky stuff. So just cutting the wave or seeing if he could get a straggler, but again, here's really been the silver lining for Ape so far. 7-1-2. It's highest net worth for the lads on Daya. Jikroy closing the distance, but there's a second item BKB, I think, for Jikroy.
All right, no cheating. No cheating by looking.
Okay.
Sanctity is level 21.
Okay.
What level is Jikroy?
I just looked 15. I have him hovered over.
Yeah, it's ugh. It's a big gap, that's for sure. And he's not even doing that badly on net worth. It's just that Sanctity's having another great game.
Yeah, look, she let the Tiny through. Like, I don't know.
Yep. And
it's-
Apes chose first pick, by the way, so they could have picked it up.
Mamang Daya. As long as he gonna stick around for Sanctity. Ooh, it's way too close to the northern side. They've run into the IO. They don't have enough damage to go through the jewel. In fact, Apes, the reinforcements show up, so they'll get the life of Bane along with the Sky's Mage
Power
across the
CK.
map. And now they're looking over to over to Sanctity in the river. It will be okay.
Just out of range. I mean, even if he was in range, he still has the Aegis, so he's probably okay just to be able to get the BKB move away off. But yeah, we just saw the impact that dalul was able to have in that previous engagement. Crazy amount of physical damage that this team is capable to do as long as they're the ones to start a lot of these team fights. That's really the first time that they have, right? Other than... No, that's it. That's the first time. Every single other time it's just been Puddle running at you, Apes getting caught underneath some sort of cliff ward. This time around, they were finally able to turn things around.
Yeah, it feels like it's mainly though LILGUN have always had the vision advantage, which I think was a big reason why that fight went decently well. It was also maybe a little bit of miscommunication, like Sanctity and khishka were trying to hunt down the Storm Spirit, whereas the rest of the team were trying to get a pick off in duel. Sanctity.
Speaking of Sanctity, he's walking forward. It's got 4 heroes.
He doesn't really want to use it on the first life. So they will get rid of the Aegis advantage. But do you stick around towards the backline? dalul gonna try and take away the life of 4-2-3, so instantly killing off the keeper. And now they've got the numbers advantage. Mamang Daya zipping towards the backline, focusing elэвэн. It's finally Apes hitting back. That's an ambitious duel, giving over 3 damage. And now with the buyback, Sanctity slid trouble. It's unable to stand his ground as dalul, a dominating streak. 4-2-3 just brought back. Mamang Daya looking to target the side, but dalul's got the blink to follow up.
What the hell?
What's going on? A 5-man wipe, but die back on the coddle, and all of a sudden, Apes, 2 successful fights back to back, puts them in the lead.
I can understand feeling like you're invincible as this Tiny, right? He was walking around, he's 7 levels above the Lunar at one stage, now only 3, by the way. And he had that second life, but yeah, the connection wasn't there. They didn't all look to rejoin from the safer space, which is on the left-hand side. They came through the jungle where a lot of that vision was, and they should have known the vision was there, right? Because the Tiny got initiated on while he was under the cover of the Silver Edge.
Yeah, I just really don't know if it's been vision, and Apes have been getting 2 pickoffs at the start.
Who starts the fight?
Yeah, exactly. It's dalul. dalul starting the fight. He's killing at least one. Well, that time it was the keeper alive, but he's killing someone. And then you're also, again, it's another fight where LILGUN, and not all is 5. That's the second time in a row. So the 3 big things. It's Apes are actually killing someone to start, like a very squishy hero. LILGUN aren't all as 5, and Apes have the vision advantage. Like, that has been the recipe for success so far in these past couple of fights.
Another question, don't check. In the past 7 minutes, what has the win probability swing been?
I think it's probably like 53 for Apes, so I'd say about 32%. Mamang Daya? That's an aggressive zip. Doesn't have... He's got Arcane to play with. We're gonna jump 11 for the BKB timing, and all of a sudden, Mamang Daya's in trouble. Bitten off a little bit more than he could chew. But Apes still considering going in. A Phantasm and Clips expended, but to no avail. As Lin easily chased under the tower, and Apes, they lose 3 and they don't get anything, and they run into Jikroy.
Jikroy? He doesn't have a TP. Or just not going to be able to spot him. That was a great quick fingers coming through there by elэвэн. Able to get that BKB off before the Storm Spirit CC'd him, allowed him to get the duel, and great return damage, even with an IO looking to heal him up.
And they won't have to worry about backdoor protection. They've still got a range creep. We got the Presti attack on the Tiny to shred apart the buildings, and they're even thinking about a second melee Rax.
Dire's middle tower is under
Why not?
attack.
No Eclipse, no Phantasm. They're feeling pretty confident, and of course, you're a Tiny.
What a hero.
Dire's middle barracks are under attack.
What a hero.
A little ambitious to
Further
stay.
inside the base. Pretty taken with the eyes sustaining. I don't know if they're actually going to be able to kill off the Chaos Knight, but he's fallen so goddamn low. Look at the zip damage. Mamang Daya evens up the trade, now turning to 11 as well. LILGUN, they've stuck around a little bit too long, getting greedy for the objectives along with the kills, as Mamang Daya rectifying that previous mistake by the top outpost.
No need to stay for a range Rax. You know, they made the similar decision up towards the top side, but the fact that they just waited that out for the CK Phantasm to be back and available is a bit of an odd one. For them, Roche not up for the next 2 minutes, but there is a DD in front of his pit, so I wonder if Jikroy will look to prioritize having that. Seems like he just wants to get that little bit of extra farm. He really wants the Sanjin Yasha. Transition this into a few more objectives and just be sustainable for himself. I mean, if he gets dueled, he wants that duration to be so much less.
And you brought up before, like one of your questions was, you know, guess how far the Luna's level was away from Sanctity, and it was 6 at that stage. Now it's only 2. Jikroy's been getting so much out of these, and if you get Sanjin Yasha for the reasons like you mentioned, for, you know, particularly for the status resistance, but I think the extra lifesteal is incredibly
Health regen.
important. Yep, because I think Satanic is a huge next item for him, just to stand his ground and tank through the duel. If he wants to go down that route, then Sanjin Yasha buffs that even more, and I think it's very difficult to kill him off if he gets that item.
They've now got Reality Rift, piercing spell immunity as well on the CK, so that's -7 armor that Aluna's able to take advantage of. They didn't smoke with dalul though. A little bit of a blunder there. Guy's going to love picking up this regen with a DD going as well. They're looking to try and play around dalul just because he wasn't caught inside that smoke as much as they can. And, well, they'll be able to get the Aether Lens on the Legion Commander. Is he going on Octarine on this Legion Commander?
He is.
Looks like he is.
I'm trying to... I think I saw go for this. I'm intrigued about it because you don't have the dual cast range. If you had that level 10 talent, then your dual range would be gigantic, but it does help out your press attack a lot, and definitely your blink as well, so it's interesting.
I mean, it has the Aether Lens component, right? So it's a little bit of cast range for the duel. And even just the overwhelming odds, right? With him being able to pick up the Aghanim Shard, the shard duration of overwhelming odds goes from seconds to 18. Sorry, 7 seconds to 15. Or 8 seconds to 15, I forget which. And yeah, it just means that you have technically 100% uptime. But you're going to have more than 100% uptime now, so that if you're not able to perfectly chain cast the abilities, then you're still going to have that great armor potential, that great movement speed in a lot of these engagements, which you need to be able to catch up to heroes like the Coddle. feels like it's been a while since we've mentioned 4-2-3 on his coddle as well. You know, his impact
Dire's
isn't
bottom
anywhere near
tower
as strong as the
Dire's
early game, which is
bottom tower
understandable,
has
but you were
fallen.
talking about it early on. Once those BKBs start to come out from the apes, this is a very different story.
Yeah, do you feel like apes are actually in the driver's seat, even though they have a full set of barracks disadvantage and the melee top?
I wouldn't say the driver's seat, no,
Radiant's
just because of that
top
fact,
tower is
but
under attack.
I mean,
Dire's bottom tower
still to me, and it's going to sound so stale and, you know, like a broken record, but it comes down to who starts the fights. Because if you start the fights and you're able to get those stuns off, Fiend's Grip, Avatos combination, they can't BKB, they don't have the relocation, you've still got a lot of burst damage on LILGUN's side, and you've also got, on the Ape side, you've got Reality Rift piercing BKB next. So even if they do pop the BKB, you're very capable of taking a lot of these engagements.
Speed up vision, this is a huge ward, which Mamang Daya just gets rid of. But ACE12 is able to offer some control, so now this is big for Daya. They've got a decent ward by the secret shop, another cliff ward to the northern side of the pit, and we've been harping on how important vision has been, and I think the next fight's going to be around Roche.
Well, if vision is what you want.
Guys, gonna look this up. The Lincoln still available for him, so the follow-up control is not gonna do anything to prevent the storm. Meanwhile, the backline, Jikroy relocates into the middle. The Eclipse is doing nothing to the BKBs, but this is a great start. They've kited the BKBs, and as soon as they expire, there's nothing Sanctity can do. Pulled back to his death, or is he even dead? Just shared Sanctity standing his ground. He doesn't win the man fight. It's Jikroy surviving on 100 health.
Oh man, that Aghanim shard on the Grimstroke saving him. Just the heals coming through. 40% of the damage that it's dealing. It's a lot in some of those engagements, and the decision to just relocate back on UK, leave the Luna there fighting on an island, could have burnt them in a big way, but instead just gets him closer. Has he taken over his level? Not quite, but they're both level 24 now, on both Jikroy as well as UK.
Keep in mind, if LILGUN win this series, then they guarantee their position in Division 2 next tour. And for Apes, they are fighting DPC lives. You know, it's a loss. It's guarantees, but they have every single...
It'd be close.
Yeah, it's on other teams and their win-losses. So you want to win everything. You want everything to be in your hands and not onto the other team.
It's a little bit... Oh man, Mamang Daya's got a regen rune outside the Roche pit as well.
They're going to run into Lim.
so
Oh, great
sense.
reactions. Can they contest
Not
this without
the
Sanctity?
reveal. Well, it's already dead.
Too far. Uh-oh, Mamang Daya's got a regen now, along with the Ages zipping back and forth. Bane's killed off. Now they've built the vision on 423. It's gonna get the kill into the TP out. The damage they're controlling. Ooh, it's way too close for comfort. Another long zip. Mamang Daya's on khishka now.
He's still got the regen going. No one's touched him.
They
He's got the overload attack bounce. He just picked up the Aghanim shard as well, so he's able to do a lot of burst damage on his own. So now they've actually got this, like, it feels like they're saving these BKBs to either TP away or as a direct response to the Eclipse coming out. And now even more so, right? Because it's about to hit up onto level 25 on the Luna. Not 100% sure if he's going to go Luna Blessing damage or the Eclipse Lucent Beam mini stun, because you've got a CK, right? And love to be able to group together with that. All the Phantasm units increased of, what, 35 Lunar Blessing damage onto all of them? It's just so much that you're going to have to try and deal with.
All right, little break in the action. I asked you a while ago before that, Roche, if you felt like Apes okay?
But not.
They're not G just yet. Yeah,
If you felt like they were in the driver's seat.
yeah, I asked you a while ago if you felt like they're in the driver's seat. Now, with the Ages and 10,000 gold advantage, has this changed? Mamang Daya,
Oh.
zip in, Revenant's Broach, they pull back 11, and he's killed off before any opportunity for BKB.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Evidence Broach on Mamang Daya. He had a BKB queued up for the longest time, but switched up to that, and buyback being expanded on the Legion commander, they're going to feel confident enough to back off.
Dire barracks are under attack.
Also, oh, that's just a reload to be able to farm up a little bit further. It's so hard to say, right? Because it's still based on vision. And I was actually a little bit excited because UK for a long time had a Helm of the Dominator queued up. But he's actually switched. He's going to go a Heart instead on this IO. But if they got the Helm of the Dom and they were able to get that Harping Scout and able to, you know, find out a way to start a lot of these engagements, then I would have been like, okay, now they got it. Now they've got it in the bag because really, a lot of their heroes are still very squishy. I mean, you've got a Coddle mid who's not making any space anymore. He feels like he needs to be a bit of the counter initiator. But then what do you have that's going to be frontlining in LILGUN? It just feels like they need to go for some weird, like, ratty sort of plays, which Sanctity is ready to do so on the bottom side. They're kind of drawing out what needs to be pushed out, though. So be careful. Revealed for the longest time. Just any team doesn't know.
They're reading
Very
this.
beneficial for them. They're
They are
smoking it. They're
reading
smoking
this.
it. It's popped. Got the shard as well on Jikroy.
Good job, but he can always BKB TPR. That's something they can't deal with. They know he's there.
Hit him.
They got the ball slap. Dalul with the follow-up. Sanctity, he's fallen pretty goddamn low before the BKB. Sanctity's gonna drop in the tree line. There's apes. 100 seconds now with no tiny on the map. You see the lines are drawn.
It's like they did go for the mini stun. That was the big difference maker there, coming through from the Luna, just to be able to get that burst down, prevent the instant BKB pop, and with a CK, he's still able to do a crap ton of damage. He got 2100 damage in that team fight. Required the Phantasm for sure, but still, what an impact that dalul is having again on his CK. Might be able to claw one back, Lockie.
Yeah, might be able to. Could get to 3 at this stage. Still got a couple of series left, couple of games. Look at this though from apes.
They're hanging around as well.
Yeah.
Just place down the Observer Ward. Sentry there. Feeling the position, but they're feeling confident.
Is under attack.
Got the Aegis available on the Storm Spirit.
Mamang Daya's just gonna
Approach again.
jump. They really can't use the buyback on the Tiny. Now to the south, 4-2-3. Gonna reveal his position. Have grabbed the gem, I believe, on Daya.
Storm's got it.
Okay.
So you fight this without your Tiny. He is your damage. If you don't have Tiny, you can't fight. Even more, look at that. Using the Phantasm in the trees.
Has fallen. Radiant's bottom barracks has fallen.
I wonder if they can stick around if they get the tier 3. I don't know if Tiny can fight into Glaives bouncing around.
Radiant's middle tower.
I think he needs to go for like a full wraparound smoke, try and engage onto the Io or the Grimstroke first.
Has fallen.
Honestly, Denog, I think they're considering ratting. I know that's something you brought up before, but I think this is now even more of a consideration. Because I think Apes, one, we see the net worth lead. We know how big it is, but I think Daya's team fight is much better at this stage of the game than Radiant's. I think you really, the rat is the better option than taking a 5-on-5.
It's going to be hard now, though, because obviously you lost the 2 lanes of racks. But even if you just lost the bottom lane, like, how do you actually go for the rat? You need to go for tier 4s exclusively, and that's just so much of a scarier prospect for you to go for. And he's still got the Battle Fury, sorry, not the Battle Fury, the Butterfly queued up here on Sanctity. And that doesn't really help with being able to take towers. They're
running under vision. But it's the target of the jewel. Someone needs to eat the Mystic Flare. What was that damage? Mamang Daya to safety. A vortex onto all 4, but it's controlled for the moment. It's in front of the high gun. Dalul's in the middle of the fight as well as the BKBs are starting to expire. It's all on Sanctity to turn the fight into the middle. He goes. But Mamang Daya, you wouldn't think of him as a Storm Spirit player, but he's beyond godlike, and it pulled Apes into prime position to send this to a game 3.
21, 2, and 9 on Mamang Daya. Making me eat my words is this man, even holding on to the Timeless Relic with that fresh pickup of the Aghanim Scepter. What a great reinitiation as the buybacks start to flow out. The Tiny's the one that you are mostly concerned about, though, so just looking to play it somewhat safe. Make sure the creeps are the ones tanking up a lot of these tower hits as the glyph becomes available again. Won't clear out the backdoor, or won't enable the backdoor protection with this bottom lane already pushed in. So Tiny has to buy back here.
jikroy has the air assist
buy
now.
back.
He just bought
He
back.
has to buy back.
They're going to jump on the back line. He's not buying back, and it's going to cost them. It's Mamang Daya. Oh, the back line just shreds out of the damage. And Apes, they will send us to a game 3. What a way to come back into this. They were up against the combo that LILGUN had so much success with in game 1.